Did you know that collecting all the 28 different forms of Unown scattered around Hisui will cause the Solacean ruins to be flooded with wild Unown? And because the only Pokédex requirement is to find all forms, you'll already have a perfect entry, making it really easy to find a shiny form or even an alpha if you're lucky. Plus, Solacean ruins is believed to be built by people from both Johto and Sinnoh, meaning it's heavily linked to the ruins of Alph, the home to Johto's Unown Cave, which is the only other place in any Pokemon game where Unown can be caught in the wild, and where the Arceus event starts, leading to the Sinjoh ruins, where even more Unown appear in the creation cutscene. Using the Pokégear radio frequency in the Alph ruins will even play the Azure Flute melody. But this is just the start of cool details we're gonna unpack in Legends Arceus connecting to the story, as well as general gameplay mechanics and hints to Legends Zygarde everyone would have missed. Although Enamorus was introduced in Legends Arceus, it's sadly shiny locked, meaning there was no legitimate way to get it shiny for years until now. In Pokemon Home, by completing the Hisui Pokédex, you'll receive a shiny Enamorus as a gift which you can transfer to Legends Arceus. But keep in mind, a Dex entry on Home only counts if the Pokemon was caught in their respective game. Completing the Sinnoh Dex will also give you shiny Manaphy, another very hard shiny to get. Using the different plates on Arceus will not only change his type to the respective plate, but also his signature move, Judgment, causing its appearance to also match the corresponding type. But you might have noticed there's 2 extra plates added to the game. One called the Blank Plate, which changes Arceus back to normal type since Pokemon can't hold items in this game, and the Legends Plate, which also turns Arceus back to the normal type, but when using its signature move, Judgment, Arceus uses a plate to temporarily turn itself into the opponent's weakest type, which also changes Judgment's type as well, giving the attack a stab boost and effectively making Arceus the strongest Pokemon in the game. Funny enough, the only other attack that has this ability is Unown's signature move, Hidden Power, at least in Legends Arceus, which was intentionally done to further connect the two. The Galaxy Hall building in Jubilife Village is based off a real government office in Hokkaido, Japan. The only problem is that there isn't any signs of this building in the modern day Jubilife city. In fact, looking at both maps, you can see that Jubilife Village is sitting right above Lake Verity, the same place as modern day Canalave City. Both towns also have a river running through the middle, and this bridge and the main street leading to the Galaxy Hall are both called Canala. So it's likely that the Galaxy Hall eventually became the Canalave Library, which is why you can find so many ancient texts about Sinnoh there, while the main city expanded east, eventually being separated by new rivers and becoming Jubilife City, since Legends Arceus is confirmed to take place around 150 years before DPP, so it's very plausible this happened. But you're probably wondering, why is Floro Gardens located under Jubilife Village while the modern day town is clearly above Jubilife City, which is northeast of Canalave? Well, talking to the residents of the town revealed that Floaroma town was actually a barren hill, but people tried planting beautiful flowers, probably from the garden in Legends Arceus, to try making the place look better. But nothing grew until someone expressed gratitude, causing the whole town to be covered with bloomed flowers. As we know from Shaman's Pokédex entry and its event, which literally spawned a massive aisle of flowers from the player's gratitude, we can confidently say Floaroma town's creation was thanks to Shaman. Jubilife Village even has another street called Floro as a precursor to the town. You might have noticed this strange looking symbol on the floor of Arceus' boss arena. This is actually the same symbol that briefly appears in the Heart Gold and Soul Silver Arceus event I mentioned earlier. For a long time, many fans speculated what this could mean, but thanks to the 2024 Central leaks, we can finally confirm that it's a creation circle. Although the leaked version was a beta, it had this order of Pokemon with the creation legendaries in the center, the Hoenn legendaries on the outer line since they form the land, sea, and air, the Lake Guardians on the outer triangle ends with control over emotions and their respective lakes, and finally on the outermost circles you'll find Ho-Oh, Lugia, and Regigigas as masters over their respective trio legendaries, as well as the other mythicals on the outer connecting line. This direct meaning was probably left out since it's hard to keep adding to this with every new generation. Shiny Arceus is one of the coolest looking in the entire game, since all of the previous form changes I mentioned earlier also apply. But it's also one of the hardest to get, since you first need to fill all of these requirements to even start encountering it in BDSP. But thanks to Pokemon Home, you can now easily transfer hard to find Pokemon to fill the decks, like the Fossil Duo or Porygon, which only spawn in the space-time distortions. And other than soft resetting, there's a secret way to easily encounter Shiny Arceus legitimately without using any cheats. By downloading the character blink tracker on your desktop, it'll help keep track of the game's internal RNG by counting the number of frames using your character's blinks. After analyzing around 40 blinks, it'll spit out a sequence of code that, once put into Pokefinder, will tell you which frame you need to encounter it on to be shiny. I found this method from Papa Jaffe's channel, so his more detailed tutorial is in the description if you're interested. Although the game never really says the origins of Nobel and Alpha Pokemon, the old verses and Arceus' plates do give us some hints. Verse 3 says the bolt struck 10 Pokemon as a gift from Almighty Sinnoh, while verse 10 says the ancient hero fought against the almighty Unknowable with the help of the 10 Pokemon. Then verse 11 says the ancient Celestica people built statues of these 10 Pokemon in Spear Pillar, since Sinnoh's almighty light shone upon them. This pretty much confirms that the Nobel and Ride Pokemon were trials sent directly from Arceus to help the ancient hero on his journey, as they do for Lucas and Dawn. So that only leaves Alpha Pokemon. Well, if their red eyes didn't already give it away, reading the Zap plate says, the third being raged rained down bolts of anger. The spooky plate confirms this is Giratina, since it also calls them the third. So alphas are basically what happens when Giratina starts zapping Pokemon in a fit of rage. These texts also mirror what Platinum's Pokédex entry says about Giratina. Verse 10 even states that the ancient hero and noble Pokemon fought off Giratina, causing it to return to its domain of no place. Meaning the reason why Alpha Pokemon are reappearing again, even though Giratina's statue was destroyed to prevent anyone else from summoning it, is because of Volo helping Giratina to connect to the normal world, which causes Arceus to choose another hero of Sinnoh to save the region. And the only reason why Volo knows of Giratina's existence is because he came from the past, from the time when the ancient hero fought against Giratina, as he kinda suggests in his final monologue. Sanqua will have a brief conversation with the player after finishing the game about the space-time rift. She says that she's gonna make a painting out of it, but won't hang it up until enough time passes. This painting never actually appears anywhere in the game, but many fans have speculated that it's this painting found in Hearthome City's church in BDSP, and or the one that appears at the very beginning of the game, but none of these are confirmed. In fact, there's a lot more examples of side quests relating to future events in BDSP. The Manaphy side quest named The Sea's Legend requires you to bring a Buizel, Mantike, and Quillfish to this gate at the edge of the Cobalt Coastlands. But The Sea's Legend is also a book in the Canalave Library in BDSP, which is how you find out the quest's secret requirements. In Quest 103, Digging for Tomorrow, you have to calm down a raging Alpha Onyx in Ouroboros Tunnel. Doing so will cause it to join Kochika the Miner, where he says that they're people who want to make statues of Pokemon if they had some quality stones. And the clan leaders said there could even be coal in this tunnel. This foreshadows the Pokemon statue mechanic in the underground bases of BDSP, as well as the Orberg coal mines development, which is basically what the whole town's known for. In Side Quest 32, you're tasked to find a cure for Psyduck's headaches in the Diamond Clan. Going to the Galaxy Hole, Terma will give you a secret medicine item made in Cyanwood City of Johto, which has a 500-year-old pharmacy in the modern day games that sell herbs and other old remedies. Although this item does disappear after finishing the side quest, its knowledge is passed down, since Cynthia gives us the exact same item in the Gen 4 game, to heal the group of Psyduck blocking the path to Celestic Town, further connecting the two regions' history. In Side Quest 7, a Drifloon attached itself to a child's hand, which you have to go find and rescue just outside the gate of Jubilife Village. This is also a reference to the Pearl and Soul Silver Pokédex entry of Drifloon stealing kids. And although this isn't a reference, if you haven't already, Quest 19 basically gives you a free shiny Ponyta, so definitely grab it if you can. There's a lot of small details for Pokemon in the wild that reflect their Pokédex entries. Wild Sudowoodo, for example, casually walk around but will pretend to be a tree when spotted by the player. Chansey usually runs away when the player comes near, but if you're injured, she'll run up to you and stay by your side until you heal. And unlike other Pokemon who lose sight of you behind walls, because Luxray has X-ray vision, its line of sight won't break even when hiding behind objects, which is pretty cool. And just like in Pokemon Go, Nosepass will always face north when not disturbed, while Unown like to swarm around you while singing their strange chimes. Also, in the hot springs of Alabasta Icelands, usually aggressive Pokemon won't attack you, but instead just enjoy the spa, so why not join them? Another cool detail is this pool of Magikarp at the bottom of this waterfall in Mount Coronet. A Gyarados is also waiting at the top, referencing the legend of the koi that jumped over the waterfall and became a dragon. And the creation legendaries all can float above water, while normal Pokemon need rafts. This doesn't include Pokemon that can swim or are known to fly or float. And thankfully, unlike in BDSP, where Pokemon with high friendships will do an annoying bounce at the very beginning of the match, in Legends Arceus they'll just glance back at you waiting for your command, which is a lot more subtle and doesn't prolong the match. In Raichu's Pokédex entry, it says that its vaults can even take down a copper jar from, quote, my homeland, pretty much confirming that Professor Laventons writes all the Pokédex entries himself, and that he's from Galar, being the ancestor of Hop and Leo. In fact, he even uses the same writing seen in Galar, which is different to the Hisui characters. There's a Galarian wheezing statue on the Galaxy Hall, while the building itself is inspired of architecture from the area. Plus, Laventons speaks in a very formal English. Even if your game's in another language, he'll still sometimes say English words, which is a nice nod to his heritage. Starting the game as Lucas, he'll be wearing a shirt with a Kalos symbol on it, while Dawn's shirt represents Galar. Because it's implied that Lucas and Dawn are around 15 years old in Legends Arceus, meaning 3 to 4 years passed since the events of BDSP, these shirts could imply they took a holiday to these destinations respectively sometime after. Their shirts also represent the previous installment Sword and Shield and the future title Legends ZA. Other connections include Kamado's battle armor, which is also from Galar, but is the same one worn by the Kalos Elite 4 member Wickstrom. Also, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet both don't have any Mega Evolutions in the game, including in the game's internal code. But for whatever reason, Legends Arceus does have unused code for the Mega Evolutions feature, which could have been a small foreshadowing of Legends ZA through leftover code from internal testing. There's a glitch that lets you get an infinite amount of Pokédollars very fast in version 1.1.1 of the game. But first, you have to beat the Daybreak DLC questline and catch a lot of Pokemon in the wild, or preferably from outbreaks. After doing this, go to Ingo and save just in case, talk to him, and then press select Pokemon. Then release one Pokemon you don't care about of any level, then release a Pokemon between the levels of 10 and 25. Next, release a lot of Pokemon you don't care about, then back out to the rewards screen. This will give you a lot of grit items, but we're not done. Don't stop talking to Ingo, instead press select Pokemon again and release just one Pokemon. Then going back to the rewards screen would have duplicated all the items from your first release. Keep releasing one Pokemon every time after for an infinite amount of grit items, which all sell at a very high price. This allows you to buy enough balls to do a lot of mass outbreaks, which gets you enough Pokemon to repeat this process and keep shiny hunting. You can also use the grit items to increase your Pokemon stats, which you need for the next fact. Going to sleep after finishing the post-game will cause Lucas to have another dream with Arceus where he challenges you to a rematch. This then unlocks the Eternal Battle Reverie, which is basically this game's version of the Battle Tower. To verse Arceus, you first have to win 50 battles in a row, kinda like Palma from BDSP. Except Arceus is level 100 in the rematch, which also applies for every Pokemon past a win streak of 20. And any Pokemon available in the game can appear since Arceus Arceus is making the rules. So I highly recommend maxing your team's EVs since it does make a big difference, especially from levels 9 to 10. You also get a lot of cool rewards the higher your streak is, and beating Arceus will give you this symbol on your trainer card, kinda like the star for 100 wins in the battle tower, which is pretty cool. So glad they added this feature since you usually can't re-battle legendaries for fun after their first encounter. But there's still so much more hidden details in Legends Arceus, so let me know what I missed in the comments below.